the forefront? Do you know any
Which,
company that
which
which is like at the top of the game?
I believe there are so many companies. I don't want to name anyone
Right,
at
okay.
this point of
All
time,
right.
but I will be talking about something from my experience. Uh, ERP system, in fact, provide the infrastructure for organization, for any organization to build upon for the forthcoming digital disruption in this era. So, if any company has ERP system and embarked upon that ERP, that Sajasab said, it's not a project, it's a journey to the excellence. So, with every step when digital disruption happens, that like internet, we all know about Internet of Things. When this Internet of Things combined with the ERP system, it makes the ERP system even more valuable for the organizations, because uh, any organization that struggle with having ERP system is just because of its cost, not only the project cost but also the running cost. But these disruption that is happening now are just making ERP system more viable for the organizations.
Okay, we're going to move to our next very distinguished panel member, Mr. Nadeem Malik. Welcome him. He's a very seasoned and veteran in, real IT guy, from Oracle. Sir, would you like to just give
Thank
you a
you,
brief
Ahmed.
introduction first, and then
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. From the age of technology, probably I'm older than dinosaur. What I feel is the ERP is very unfashionable. In technology, what I found out, the only two terms change in ERP. When I was growing up, people used to call it MIS, Management Information System, and today we call it ERP. So my 32 years career, I think he asked me to just briefly run you through. I'm in industry for the last 32 years. 32 years ago, I started my career with US Department of Commerce, and over the years, I've been around most of the places in the globe. Had an opportunity to work for NESPAC, had opportunity to work for EDS, had opportunity to work for various organizations, Microsoft, IBM, Huawei, and today I'm in Oracle. Learning is a continuous journey. I think this morning I took a 2-hour lecture on one of the courses which I'm required to complete this week. So we all do that, right? Sakab, I'm sure you're aware of it. They ask us to learn it. So my 2 cents is, I think had this topic been ERP different, probably would have more engaging audience. But I think I'll explain what my learning is over 32 years, seeing from MRP, MRP1, MRP2 to MIS, and today we are called it ERP.
Thank you, sir. My question to you is that, is the current ERP platform capable to help companies with this digital disruption, or do we need a modern ERP platform?
I think we have heard the distinguished speakers earlier. They try to explain what ERP is. ERP is nothing but a system of record. I think that's, we all know. It gathers the data, financial data, HR data, customer data. It's a system of record, and that has been for many, many years in the past. I think that is changing the shapes. When we talk about business intelligence, we talk about the next phase, how the data analytics will come into the play, how the big data will come into the play, how the artificial intelligence and machine learning will come to the play. That will bring some kind of disruption. So what is amazes me, what I had a joke with one of my colleagues, disruption means inconvenience. That's the word is, right? You're disturbing me. This is causing a disruption. It's called inconvenience. How an inconvenience can help your organization? So you need to understand the topic of it. So when we call digital disruption, it means something is disturbing something. And how that can help my organization, that's a key to understand for every organization. I think that's what happened, what my experience says. Most of the ERP systems, when they start going to implementation, organizations only lifted and shifted the current processes. What technology can add to it, what can the benefit they can bring into it. When they shift the manual process and lift to a computerized system, the inherited problem also shifted. And that's basic problem still exists in many organizations. And that's where I think the shift is coming in. That's where the most of the resources coming in. How to do the business re-engineering, how the business processing needs to be done, because technology has improved tremendously in that. I think that's where the disruption comes in. When you start thinking about those lines, then your data is right. You don't have a duplication of records. You have a more monetizable data where you can come and do the monetization, and then you can run all those fancy terms on top of it, which are machine learning and algorithms of AI, and how the AI algorithms going to be learned, because the market dynamics is changing. Somebody mentioned the TikToker can shift the whole your supply chain or demand in the market. I think that's where the algorithms comes into play. That's artificial intelligence is. I think disruption is mindset change.
Right. Well, mindset change. So I would like to, I know you are, on the team of Prime Minister IT team. He's, we are glad that, honored that he's here. So could you please tell us, what government is doing and what kind of programs and where this disruption is taking place and for the betterment of our, country?
I think the task of PM Task Force for IT and Telecom is twofold. The first fold was how we can remove the obstacles to grow our industry, IT industry in an export manner and also domestic manner as well. So there are a lot of problems exist in our laws and our tax regulations and other things, facilitations available. I think that's the one part, how we can facilitate the organization locally and how we can bring the conducive environment to it. That's the first part. The second part is what kind of opportunities the government can do, because if you look at the historically, the government is always the biggest buyer of everything. So if the government buys technology, government go to the e-governance, government go to the citizen services, that's the opportunity for the local industry to grow. I think that's what the second part is. In both part, we have a lot of success. Have you seen Digital Pakistan Initiative?
He will introduce himself, what his background is, and then how they are running their company and in terms of contribution they're making in business in Pakistan. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir, and very good afternoon to everyone. I will start with my intro. I am one of the co-founders of HRSG, and at the same time I'm the managing partner of it. By profession I'm an FCA, and I did my HR from Cornell University, so I am finance and HR professional doing technology business for the past decade. For the last 11 years I'm on the entrepreneurial path and trying to, and that's what contribution HRSG has. We are close to about 50,000 people organization. We are amongst the top largest employers in Pakistan, and trying to contribute both with technology, both with bringing innovative solutions in the domain of HR for the past 3 decades now. When it comes to the discussion, the start off, with an example that I've learned just 4 days ago in Dubai. I used to live in Dubai, and after I usually go there every 3-4 months. So this time when I went to a restaurant for a breakfast, and you used to take out an hour ticket from the machine, and then you put up inside your car, and then you walk out. This time when I went to the ticket counter, the thing is they asked me, what is your car number? So, and I never thought that they're going to ask me about my car number, and then I went, took a picture of my car. It was a bit far. Then I gave the entire number a couple of times. As he mentioned, it's a disruption, is inconvenience. 2-3 times, he asked me to write it correctly. I put it correctly, then I got a ticket. And then I put the ticket there. And what I found out later, that those people who used to come and check, your validity is expired or not, they have removed all of them from the entire department. And the entire AI is working for them. So after 1 hour, if my car is parked there, the AI is going to assess on those spots, and I'm going to get my challan and mukhalfa then and there, parked under the registration book of that car. So what I'm trying to extract out of here, that this is where the world is going. And the thing is, over here, we are trying, on this fantastic platform, learning and unlearning, what ERP is all about and what kind of systems we need to implement, over here. And second things, what happened, I am selling enterprise cloud for the last 11 years. I'm always on the other side of the change. You know, every time people are telling me why it cannot happen. And from the last 4 years, I'm selling my digital solution, and then COVID came. And when COVID came, the thing is everyone was looking for a digital solution. So, you know, from 5,000 users, in the COVID era, I crossed 35,000, you know, active employee base, you know, using my app, you know, for anything and everything. And of course, when it comes to digital disruption, you know, now the application is available on the mobile where you can call for your payslip and the payslip is going to come. So the thing is, you know, this is the level of sophistication the world is going. ERP, as Sajjad in his speech clarified, this is one of the most abusive term, you know, over the years. You know, everybody don't know nothing about it, including myself to an extent. But the thing is, we want to implement it. The thing is, when you talk about ERP, half the people still in the industry ask me, what are you selling is that ERP? So what I have been trying to explain, you know, at many forums, that, you know, barring 2-3 global products, you know, SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, you know, the others cannot be considered an ERP because they are the most sophisticated products available globally. And then now the concept of ERP is a strategic framework. You can have multi-specialists knitted around the entire concept and go into integration. We are scary people when you talk about, you know, you go for a presentation, half the time the head of IT is talking about integration. It cannot happen easily. We became a rocket science, you know, with us.
Right.
So I speak very realistic because I face change. The buying of ERP is a very simple decision. You know, you go ahead. We don't distinct between core and non-core. When we go in an automation drive, we say we have to buy one product irrespective where we need to save, where we need to invest. And at the end of the day, we don't rely and believe in the word of transformation and sustainability. Because we buy it, and the thing is, the classical paper written in the West in 80s and 90s about classical failure of an ERP, you know, most of them applies here. And the reason is that, you know, we don't buying and we don't not thinking of upgrading ourselves, embracing technology, embracing digital disruption. We go on a brand. And that's, you know, where, you know, the basic fundamental comes together, you know, can, you know, make, you know, more awareness in terms of the mindset what we have, and, you know, make sure that when you're buying something, you know, at the end of the day, it is coming on ground as well, and it is sustainable. And the thing is, at the end of the day, if I'm not willing to change, and if I'm buying something very big, at the end of the day, it's going to be losses. And what happens on these losses? That those losses, you know, compromise the credibility of that product, and at the same time, the credibility of the people who actually endorse to buy it. So the thing is, change is important. And sir, without, if we don't embrace digital disruption, the thing is, our competition will take us way ahead. So at the end of the day, we need to surrender. And when people ask me, you know, how to, you know, cope up with the disruption and digital transformation, I say hire Z generation. I can't cope up. If I even try, I can't cope up. I have to have people who can think differently than how I think. So the thing is, that's the only way you would, you know, be going about it. And it's a fantastic show, and I'm sure it's going to be a huge learning, you know, for everyone and whoever are listening to us, you know, through digital media. So thank you very much.
All right, so a follow-up question with you. You mentioned that Oracle and SAP, you know, they're the major players. Recent study, Deloitte said that the formula for going forward is, for agility and innovation, is ERP plus cloud. So what are your views on that, sir?
Sorry?
ERP plus cloud.
ERP in a cloud. That's my favorite subject, and after this, you know, I'm talking about that only. I have been selling cloud for the last 11 years as an enterprise cloud, and I'm going to share my stories with you.
Right.
It took me good 14 months to convince my first client. That was not to a local company, it was a multinational. So that's the journey, because at the end of the day, we are not going on cloud today. And I am always surprised for the past 10, 11 years that if any vendor selling desktop application in 2021, I am completely surprised. And the thing is, out there, customers buying it. That is another surprise. Because at the end of the day, if in 2021, you're buying an absolute technology, obsolete technology, which is never going to work with you, just imagine, The thing is 2025, all big 3 ERPs are rolling back their support. When they're rolling back their support and vendors and CIOs are constantly investing on those desktop technologies, what's going to happen? Then they have to make huge cost again to transform.
Right.
Because if anybody is thinking that, you can get away with that with the existing infrastructure, they won't. And the thing is, the answer is very clear. And sooner we understand that, sooner is going to be the real transformation startup. So we need to talk about technology strategy now. Sir,
Right.
the problem is with us, we talk about ERP, we talk about transformation, we don't talk about, what technology we like to incorporate. Either finance is very strong in the company, who will make the call? What is going to come? Either, finance, either CIO will make a call. Rest of the department, they outsource who they feel is going to be more literate in terms of technology. No, sir, that has to end. Now, every departmental head will have to be technology savvy, at least to the department he's running. If he's thinking that CIO will make decision on my behalf, this, this approach has only made more, cost to the company than, bringing any kind of ROI.
Great. Well, we're coming towards the end of our panel discussion, so I would like to go back to where we started. Now, sir, you have heard views from other panelists here. What would you like to, in the end, any message or any, your concluding thoughts, Yusuf, starting with you?
I think I'm going to draw this closer to my comfort zone, which is marketing and branding. I see a branding crisis in Pakistan, starting with what you help people with, which is image.
Right.
Right down to the core of what a brand stands for. It pains my heart that we have very few brands exported out of Pakistan, which are sold as Pakistani brands, not चावल में included. हमारे चावल दुबई जाते हैं रीपैक होके made in India करके बिकते हैं दुनिया में. So we have a crisis, and I think even in this forum when I came in, even when I looked around, I see tremendous opportunities to integrate the knowledge that exists with creating a vision for Pakistan to become a global exporter of solutions, of technology. Why are we reliant on others to provide us something? Why can't we be the flag bearers of providing something to others? And I think from my perspective, brand को हम packaging से relate करते हैं कि डब्बे में डालने चीज़ ये branding हो जाएगी. I think ERP has to be branded better. जो मेरे panelists कह रहे थे, जो solutions हैं जिनकी तरफ जाना है, why are we still selling something which is outdated? Because there's a branding crisis.
Absolutely.
It has to be sold better. It has to be marketed better. This is my 2 cents.
Okay, great. How about you, Abbasab? I mean, any concluding thoughts, or after you heard this discussion, or would you like to comment or add something to it?
One of the important things that I would love to share after having listened to the discussion of esteemed panelists, ERP system, once you implement it in true spirit, that can help you to embark upon to the next level of digital disruption that is being happening. I tell you the story in that we got SAP implemented in Panther Tires Limited. We have a complex manufacturing process. We actually produce almost 15 billion products, different kind of products in our manufacturing facilities. And we were struggling to align the manufacturing process from one stage to the final stage. And it was like since the start of the company that we've been able to capture that problem. But that is the SAP system that helped us, that integrated our not only the accounting and finance function, but also the manufacturing function, right from the start till the finalization of the product. And that in fact now made us like to get maximum value out of the manufacturing process of our company.
Nadeem Sahab, if you'd like to conclude, and I would like to also, because you have been in the trenches for so long, and I would like you to give just a very succinct message to the audience here. What could they take away from here in today's discussion?
I think a few things which I would say my experience says, and we talk about the failure of the factors contributing to the failure of the projects. The number one, when you're implementing specifically ERP is like veins in your body which collecting the blood. You get information coming from customer to manufacturing to supply chain, your internal finance, and everything. The second part is do not do ERP without business re-engineering or business process re-engineering, because otherwise you would not get the benefit which ERP really brings to the. I think third, I cannot more emphasize what the cloud is, because most of the time the implementation and gathering into the organization, because the biggest hurdle of ERP is culture. Organizations do not care about the culture transformation. That's a new terminology, but a lot of large organizations do have this cultural transformation because the resistance coming into any information system. So the third part is very important, because you cannot be behind the curve as you're implementing the ERP, which is, Sajjad rightly said, is a journey. It's not a product. It's not going to solve your problem in overnight. It's in a journey. You're going to learn about it. The third, the fourth, the most important is stay on the curve, and cloud is the only way to keep you on the curve, because the technology shift is happening so fast. You cannot have on-prem patches and updates and migrations done every other day. But the cloud gives you that advantage that you are up to date with the right technologies, right strategies, and right in front of your customer. The customer experience is becoming a more and more personal experience rather than segment experience. I think that's my vote.
Thank you. I would like to segue, cloud, what he said, with my next question and final concluding thoughts with Qamar Saab. Please, before you give your concluding thoughts, I would like to know that is any company ready for cloud? I mean, what are the challenges go to cloud, when you are, already working with the, current ERP systems? What are the challenges, involved there if you want to take your company to the cloud? And then please give your concluding thoughts.
Yeah, so far, my experience for over a decade, when you're trying to sell, a cloud proposition, the change is a mix, that comes, and challenges, they come from.
I mean, can it be done instantly, or is it an evolved process, transition has to go through? I mean, because there might be some disruption in the business while you are going to cloud.
Sir, the myth of cloud hasn't been eroded out, from us.
Okay.
We are on a very fundamental stage, when it comes to accepting cloud in Pakistan.
Okay, all right.
And the first, that starts when you talk about cloud, somebody's domain is about to get free. Because what enterprise the cloud does today, it takes away the 90% job, which is stuck up by an IT department. So the thing is, if you're going and telling him or her that my solution is on cloud, and then you're free. You need to focus on your core strategic areas and forget about the non-core areas. And let the owner be the owner.
Okay, great.
How he is going to let it go. Because at the end of the day, if he does that, there are 8 servers in his data center. And there are 5 people supporting that system.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, how he's going to do it? Company has invested. He was the one who made sure that you need to invest in internal NOC.
Okay, great.
So one part is there. Second part is the mindset, of the top man. The mindset of the top man, we haven't yet convinced the top man that you're more secure on cloud than your local 5 people handling the data.
Right.
This mindset, over there is completely sometimes surprising.
They want to stay with the hardware, like everything.
I was selling in Saudi Arabia the same concept, and one of the locals told me, Faisal, going on a cloud means I'm cutting my one finger. So I'm saying that,
Mindset.
because they are not forward-looking more than us. So the thing is, this is cloud is a myth. We feel that somebody will just probably we are conveniently selling. And top of that, I get absolutely surprised. Sometimes, people sitting in multinationals and telling me that our region is not going to allow enterprise cloud.
Wow.
And I'm quite sure that this is not the issue coming from there. It's the issue, they themselves. Look at the banking sector. What happened to banking sector?
Right.
They're far behind than the rest of the world.
Yep.
Because at the end of the name of security, I've been going to State Bank for the past 10 years. And finally, they came up with a solution that for non-core, you can have cloud. And the Amazon helped us, to get through with that kind of regulation. But the problem is that we need to do a lot. and we need to do a lot, and we need to make secure the people. And at the end of the day, if we won't do it, sir, what's going to happen? If we won't do it today, we will be making our organization not competitive. Your competitive battle will be lost if you will be keep, creating everything and everything inside your knock. And I think, that's probably the purpose of this conference, that the thing is, it has to be a mindset change. And of course, we have, alhamdulillah, abnormal opportunities. I don't claim, because I came up in this country with 0 employee base. I'm serving 155,000 employee base today concurrently on my cloud.
And I know it took you quite a while to sign up the first client, right?
So at the end of the day, from my side, I only have, blessings and duas, for the entire fraternity that, people are embracing. And that process is going to go a long, long way. Look at the HANA coming up with 4 options. Look at Oracle coming up with multiple options.
Right.
That's what is going to transform. And they're going to be a specialist kind of a concept. You're going to distribute between core and non-core.
Right.
You're not going to buy, I don't know why people say that, I'm feeling so good, with all due respect, that I have my payroll is on Oracle and SAP. I don't know why.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, where you need to save.
Yes.
Why would you invest in that? So the thing is, the management gap is very different. And that probably will have to change in times to come, and this, and our direction is right. So these forums and Ghulam and all of us, will bring that change,
Right.
inshallah.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, here were all these very distinguished panelists, so let's give them a big round of applause. I mean, they shared their knowledge with us. I would like to leave you with the concluding thought. I was reading this the other day. There's a professor at NYU, now that we're talking about even a bigger perspective of what we're talking about here, and his name is Scott Galloway. So if you ever come across his book, he has written this very fascinating book, Pandemics and the Crisis and the Opportunities. And in that book, he talks about that the biggest stockholder creator, the value creator, has been 3 kind of revolutions. One was the globalization, and the second was digitalization, and the third he talks about, the new one, is dispersion, how products are going to be distributed. And he talked about 2 areas, healthcare and education. Now, he said that these things were already in process, but this, COVID has accelerated this. I mean, imagine education. I mean, it could be provided now. We just realized this, that it could be provided to millions of people at a very low cost. I mean, a country like us, if we don't use that, because we don't have that much money, we don't have that much capital, and we can't spend a lot of money on education because we can't build schools and we can't build infrastructure. And imagine what can be done, distributing education and educating our country and the kids at a very, very low cost. And the other is about the health industry and the, health products, and, it's bypassing the doctor. I mean, not really bypassing him, but utilizing all this new technologies and how to get this health care right to the patient, so that's another opportunity, the area of opportunity there. So, those are the thoughts that I would like to leave you with. So it's a much bigger picture, I mean, yes, we talked about businesses here, but a whole lot more is going on there. I appreciate your, attendance here, and you came, and your presence rather. Thank you very much, and I think we would like to wrap it up. Again, I would like to thank you, HR Legend, to make this happen. I tell you something, I was telling Ghulam Mustafa that, I'm from the United States. I don't easily get impressed with, people, what they're doing. I mean, somebody has to do something very substantial to impress me. I think that what he has done here in Pakistan in a very short period of time in this forum, that look at this, I mean, a major conference, I'm sure that we are not that many here, but a lot more are listening on, on Zoom, and this thing is going to be aired to, it's going to be, a lot of people will get to know about this conference. So let's give him a big hand for Mr. Ghulam Mustafa for having this concept and then making it happen. So thank you very much.
I'd like to thank all the panelists and our moderator. We would now like to request Mr. Faisal Kamar again to share his wisdom on the future of business automation as our keynote speaker. Please, round of applause for Mr. Faisal Kamar.
Good afternoon once again. I will start, the topic is very interesting, very close to my heart. And I will start, am I doing something? I learned it, disruption is inconvenience. So he put it in the right word. So there are a couple of examples I will start my presentation with. I was giving a presentation to a large company in Lahore, and I'm just trying to mention you how change management comes in, and when you manage everything in-house, what are the risks involved to it. So when I was giving presentation and I was showing that anything and everything you would like to have, you will be available in your mobile app. So the first comment came to me that we have had a survey conducted in the company, and the company's employees are saying that our mobile is so private, we cannot use that app for you. So it was very interesting for me. And then, I was dealing with a security risk team, with a large company, and there was a discussion on who's going to keep the encryption key. So we proposed that let's, make it halves, and you keep one side and when we keep one side. But they said, no, we are going to keep the entire encryption key with us. We said, okay, no issues, you can have it. And just tell us, what are the procedure to retrieve the key. And then they get to know that they have yet to make a procedure for encryption key management. So what I'm trying to say that what a vendor or a specialist can cater to, you have very dim light to what's happening within your own department. So this presentation is about the first word, which is, all the time we talk about cloud. Why I emphasize about cloud so much, because from the day one in 2009 until now, I am not selling anything except cloud. I lost business a lot of times when client wanted me to have a private cloud or to have a desktop solution or just selling anything. I was constantly refusing because I had so much conviction that this is how the future is going to come up, and you can just think of anything and everything that until today I get as a response, from people that what cloud is. Cloud, the word is, I don't know, it somehow agonize somebody, insecure somebody, and so on and so forth. So the thing is, first what we have that it is considered a digital fortress if you want to learn what it is. And digital fortress means that, the first time we understand about enterprise cloud is what? Enterprise cloud is introduced to us by Amazon about 16, 17 years ago when they started their web services. And from 16 years, now we have tons of enterprise cloud all across available. And then, there are a lot of enterprise cloud platform application vendors also just like us. So what happens, when you are making everything in-house, when you have made organization invested too much into the inside kind of a thing, you're stuck up most of the time on the upgrades with large amount of payroll costs. The thing is upgrading, downgrading, and at the end of the day, organizations is investing time which is so valuable, and out there in the market, you can have the same kind of facilitation, hardly 20% of the total cost. So the first and the foremost solution and first and foremost concept of enterprise cloud, that it brings you cost saving. If you want to save, I'm a commercial man. By profession, I'm a chartered accountant. So from the last 11 years, I'm not telling the industry that you have to incur more cost. I'm very clear about it. These technologies are only going to bring more cost. Just imagine a desktop technology that you have bought inside, and then you want to go digital. Then you are hiring another team of mobile developers and making that app. In one company, 2 different applications. And every time you need to upgrade them, one application is going somewhere else, some application going somewhere else. Irrespective, you can have one system where both the things are synchronized. So the thing is expense, expense, expense. And when you talk about enterprise cloud, the thing is all the hassles are handed over to professionals. So risk are there, and mitigation is also very, very clear that, what it can do to you. In Pakistan, we are passing through that evolution process, which, is going to take time, but the process has started. There are lots and lots of encouragement, and I'm quite happy to see, the way SAP has brought those 4 different types of offering, on HANA, Oracle, the way they have come up, and the way now the learning is keep enhancing about enterprise cloud is very fascinating to see. And I think I can speak on behalf of the entire vendor community in Pakistan that they pursue, the right way of technology, and the right way of technology is only one, that you have to transform into cloud. And we need to embrace cloud. In-house, you don't know what's happening. In-house, your scalability is always a question mark. You put up a capital request once again, that takes plenty of time. And after 3 years, the kind of obsolescence we have been experiencing in hardware market, the thing is every 2 years you have a obsolete infrastructure available to you. So why not hand it over to them? As my personal experience, I went with IBM software data centers globally, and I never intended from the day one that I'm going to ever have my own infrastructure team. I outsourced virtual machines on enterprise cloud with IBM. What they give me? They give me tier 4 support. They give me all kind of certifications with us. The certification are 3-4. When you go with a data center like IBM and software, there are 5 pages of certification that they have done it. And tier 4, what I learned means that after 9/11, if the plane is crashed into that building, nothing is going to happen to the data center. That's how we identify tier 4 kind of a thing. So the most important part is that whatever you're buying today, whatever vendor you are certifying today, in terms of what kind of solution you would like to have, the first question you have to ask your company that, are you a cloud mature company? If and when it's going to happen, it's not about, it's going to happen or not. I was all clear, past a decade that, this is the way it's going to be. Now it has started to happen. We are hearing more and more about it. And the thing is, at the same time, when you don't go on an enterprise cloud and don't go on an enterprise application, every team has to come twice. And at the end of the day, you increase more cost, to the process. How do you do it? The first thing is realization. The first thing is acknowledgement. The acknowledgement that हमारा सेट नहीं मानेगा, हमारे सेट को नहीं मना सकता कोई, हमारे आईटी को कोई नहीं मना सकता, बिकॉज हमारे पास जो है वो, और मुझे ये भी आज तक समझ में नहीं आया कि हमारे पास जो है वो वाई आईटी इज़ इंटरेस्टेड इन नॉन कोर, आई रियली डोंट नो. मतलब देयर जॉब इज़ टू मेक contribution by information technology on the corporate mission of the company. Why they are interested to have payroll database with them? Half the CIOs, when I'm concluding the business, asking me, can we get the database access mirrored, on our server? So I said, man, if I'm selling an enterprise cloud platform, how this question is relevant? I'm going to share my recipe with you. By all means, you share the concerns with me. What concerns do you have? If you have a confidentiality concern, I have all the reasons to mitigate that. So the security, the reverse psyche is that on an enterprise cloud, on a digital solution, your security is much more scaled up. And that myth has to be broken. If you don't break the myth, the thing is you continue to be, on the same drag. And in 2021, and the thing is, the only thing is, find enterprise cloud, there are many. And look at that, Office 365, now applications are coming up, Oracle, Microsoft, SAP, they all are offering, solutions on enterprise cloud. That's the way out, and I really don't know that this transformation, when it will come in 3 years' time, how much organizations are going to invest. It's a good news for the vendors with enterprise cloud solutions. And at the same time, it's a challenge for all of them. Pakistani market has 14% multinationals, 86% local contribution. Sir, we have a huge room to transform this country. And this is the beginning of that shift. And in Pakistan, close to about 45 million people are paid salary. And we have reached only 150, and rest of the outsourcing vendors have reached close to about 1.5 million. The thing is, there is a long way to go. The concept, like West, is here and is going to stay there. Machines are going to replace people in all non-core areas. The thing is, we have started that function. We have introduced AI into payroll review. We don't need, long payroll department, to have those reconciliation done. The machines are going to do it. You don't need anybody, to tell you what your tax, calculation is. Your AI is going to tell you what tax calculation is. So at the end of the day, the most important part is, if you stuck into your on-prem philosophy and your technology strategy is not right, and I have been keep saying more and more about technology strategy, what kind of platforms you're going to use. You want your ERP, but you don't talk about technology. But if you don't talk about technology, ignoring and leaving it to tech people and leaving it to CFOs, the thing is, the decisions will be on whims. And at the end of the day, who's going to cost? It's going to cost to the company. So that's my last bit, and it starts with a change. And at the end of the day, no great improvements in the lot of mankind are possible until a great change takes place in the fundamental constitution of their modes of thoughts. And that's, what we need to do. So let's embrace enterprise cloud. Let's embrace digital solution. Save, 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 and get ready for the future. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Faisal. I would like to call upon someone who has over 19 years of experience in the field of sales, in the field of marketing, business development, operation management, account management, and who is now currently the executive director at Abacus Consulting. Please put your hands together for Mr. Muhammad Khalid Iqbal.
Assalamu alaikum everybody and welcome to the ERP 3.0 conference. Everybody is talking about change over here. The last speaker Faisal also talked about change and the change management process. To us actually, the change is actually, ERP is the starting point or the platform that actually helps towards this change management process, it starts with the ERP, the overall change management process in terms of business transformation, in terms of digital transformation. So I'll quickly talk about Abacus Consulting as a whole, and then we'll move towards the main topic, which is the domestic versus the international ERP. So Abacus overall has 30 plus years of experience. We've got around 3,000 plus employees. We have done over 800 actually implementations with 600 enterprise clients. We are into 30 plus countries, working in 40 different countries and 12 transformation. We have won different awards. Most of the awards are being won in the ERP domain, and they are related to SAP. With the recent one being that we are the top partner of the year for SAP Business One and Business by Design for EMEA South for the year 2019. Moving forward, in terms of the different areas that we cover, in terms of different things that we do, we're into ERP, we're into digital transformation, we're into HR consultancy, we're into financial consultancy, we're into customized software development. So there are a lot of different lines that we do across different areas. So this is what I was talking about, big data, enterprise resource planning, then we have, we're also into cloud as well, and human capital management. These are some of our partnerships, self-explanatory. We are one of the largest partners for SAP in Pakistan and also for the region as well. All right, so coming towards the topic, which is domestic versus international ERPs. So some of the areas that I would like to get your attention on are related to, can we have the slides over there as well as possible? The slides nazar aa sakte hain, mujhe mudna padta hai dekhne ke liye. Anyways, it's okay. So change, as the last keynote speaker also talked about, this is very important. As I mentioned, this is going to, ERP is going for change management. Automation, technology, transformation, and e-commerce. Keep these things in mind when we are even talking about the ERP implementation, or if we are talking about the domestic versus international ERPs as well. So just a couple of slides on how the world is changing or how things are moving. So this is a photo which was taken in early 2000s for an area. If we look at the same venue, the photo which was taken in 2018, this is how the world is changing. So technology is really evolving with the passage of time. People are looking at gadgets, people are looking at cloud, people are looking at different areas and how things are moving. All right, moving forward. This is a chart that contains details of how a minute in the world looks like, or looked like actually, in 2018. Just look at the amount of data that is being transferred over here, and this was 2018 actually. So we're talking about how many texts are being sent, how many messages are being sent on Facebook, how many messages are being sent on Twitter. But if we look at the same kind of chart now in 2020, which is because the situation is completely changed with COVID, how it looks like. The landscape is completely different now. What we are talking about is look at how many users are now connected to Microsoft Teams. Look at how many users are now connected to Zoom. The world is completely changing. The world is now looking at remote connectivity. The world is looking at cloud. The world is looking at in other words, we don't require a physical office now to work, and we can now work remotely completely. So the world is completely changing. So here's another important, very different slide, that in terms of, there are different areas which would be covered over here, that how many years did it take to reach 50 million users in any particular area. So we talk about airlines. It took around 68 years to reach 50 million users. We talk about automobiles. It took 62 years to reach 50 million years around the globe. Electricity, 46 years. Credit card, 28 years. Television, 22 years. ATM, 18 years. And moving forward, cell phone, 12 years. Internet, 7 years. iPod, 4 years. YouTube, 4 years. Can you guys think of anything that would have reached a 50 million user base in terms of days? Can anybody think of that? Pokemon Go, it took 90 days to reach 50 million users. And that actually shows that what the world is moving towards. So the thing is, technology and digital disruption, what we talk about, digital transformation that we talk about, it starts from a base. The reason why I'm showing you these slides is because the journey towards digital transformation or digital disruption or this digital journey or the business transformation journey, it starts with the base. And the base in this case is going to be the ERP itself. Whether it's domestic, whether it's international, but ERP is going to act as the base product for this. All right, so I'll quickly start with the classification of ERP. There's tier 1 solution, which is for the large enterprises and with a large number of users and with large complexities, greater number of departments, etc. for overall. Then there's tier 2, which is lesser number of users. I mean, globally it is classified as less than 500 user base across all the departments, but with lesser complexity. And then there's a tier 3 solution into it as well, which is for smaller organizations, less than 10 users or less than 20 users overall, with very low complexity. So this is how we classify. So most of the competition that we see within international versus the domestic or the local ERP is within the tier 2 and tier 3 range. It is not mostly in tier 1 range. All right, so moving forward, in other words, why people are actually implementing the ERP, that is, there was a survey being conducted by KPMG globally, and the 6 main reasons or the 6 main advantages why people implement ERP are as follows. People are looking for end-to-end integration. People are looking for a product that actually covers the complete spectrum of the organization. Then the best practices, best business practices. A lot of organizations, they actually opt for best practices whenever we talk about the ERP implementations, instead of like taking the same as-is processes forward. Then there is customizations and integrations. A lot of organizations, they are already using some sort of solutions in particular domains, whether it's finance or HR or CRM, etc. So they are into silos that they are using. But then further, they select ERP because of the fact that ERP covers the complete spectrum. Then there is increased visibility. Increased visibility means there's accountability, then there's visibility, and then there are better profitability actually in terms of this, and long-term sustainable growth. All right. So what are the key considerations while an ERP is selected, whether it's local ERP or it's an international ERP with best practices? What are the key considerations? So the first consideration is the nature of business, the functionalities itself, and at the same time the industry itself. That is the first consideration. The second one is future growth path, whether it's geographical increase in terms of the growth, or it's vertical integration, or it's horizontal integration. That is when we talk about the growth. Then human resource availability for a particular solution. At times what happens is that people or organizations, they select ERP based upon the resource that they already have in the organization, and that resource has worked in a particular ERP already. Then feasibility of business process re-engineering, return of investment, a key consideration. Long-term sustainability of a service provider. What is the history of the service provider? How many implementations has the organization done? And finally, the budget limitations. This is one of the key considerations when selecting an ERP, whether it's domestic or it's international. That is the budget itself. So now we talk about the pros and cons of domestic versus international ERP. So if we look at the positive side of the domestic ERP, there is obviously low capex because they are relatively cheaper as compared to the international ERPs. Then flexibility in terms of for a particular organization. This is not flexibility when we talk about configurations or when we talk about overall end-to-end spectrum or the way an ERP deals with the organization. So this is for a particular organization as such. Then there is local support available because it's a local organization that is providing the ERP, so there is local support available. And then finally, there is lower total cost of ownership. If we talk about the cons or the negative sides of the domestic ERP, most of the times it is based upon the existing practices of the organizations. If an ERP is being built for a particular industry, it may be very good for that industry, but when it is replicated for another industry, that is not the case. There's going to be a lot of customizations that would be required to be done into it. Then non-standardization of the product in terms of the coding practices, in terms of the QA practices, in terms of the change management practices, etc. All these are usually, they are not really standardized. There is very little investment in R&D from the local organization's perspective. They are more keen towards making changes as per the need of their clients instead of incorporating the best practices into the product. There are no regular updates, and there are obviously reliability issues into it as well. If we talk about the positives of the international ERPs or the global ERPs, as we talk about, like SAP itself, then there is standardized best practices incorporated into it. If we talk about, for example, SAP Business One over here, there are around 80,000 plus implementations globally for this product across different industries, across 100 different industries. So there would obviously be best practices incorporated into that product from a global perspective as compared to a domestic ERP. Then there is geographical enhancements as well, or geographical advantages. Multilingual, multi-currency, multi-country, all these are built into the international ERPs as compared to a domestic product. Then scalability. Most of the international ERP service providers, they have products in all the categories. They have tier 1 product and they have tier 2 product as well. So there's no problem in terms of scalability. An organization may start small with a tier 2 product to start with, and then as they grow, as they reach the complexity levels, as they reach the user levels, they can always opt for the tier 1 product from the same service provider instead of opting for another vendor. Whereas this is not the case with the domestic ERP. Then there are wide range of features. Wide range of features again come from the global best practices which are incorporated into the product. In terms of the support, there is no limitation in terms of support. The support is provided from local partners, local vendors. The support is provided from the local ERP service provider management. The support is available from the global support centers, etc. So there is no shortage in terms of support. There can be phased implementation. This is not the case that all the implementation would be done in one go. You can go for a modular approach within this as well, and then you can go for tier-wise approach within this as well. So that is another advantage. And then the business process optimization or business process reengineering, or now if we talk about the business transformation. So now we are talking about business transformation within these international ERPs. Let's take the example of SAP over here, SAP, now we are talking about business transformation as a service. So we are not talking about digital transformation, we are not talking about intelligent enterprise, but we are talking about the business transformation as a service. That means that everything that you do within the organization, every enterprise solution, every other integratable solution that you have within the organization, that can be provided to you as a service. Essentially meaning that that the organizations do not need to invest anything in infrastructure at all. Everything is going to be hosted in cloud, whether it's ERP itself, whether it's robotic process automations, whether it's machine learning, business intelligence, artificial intelligence, business analytics, etc. All these things are going to be available on cloud under one particular platform, and that we call as the business transformation as a service. So in terms of the flip side of it, obviously there is higher capex involved. But at the same time, even if it is a higher capex, still the thing is that the ROI is pretty strong within this. There are standard set of processes, but at the same time, these are standard set of processes which cover the complete spectrum or the complete domain. Ensuring the consistent process globally. There are localized builds as well available, but at the same time there are global builds available as well. So that is a challenge, because the thing is that managing 100,000 implementations, 120,000 implementations globally, that can be a challenge as well. So talking that has a global impact or the global presence as such should opt for an international ERP. Domestic systems, they might comply with the basic needs of the organization, and that can be just a starting point. But in order to take the organization to the next level, in order to incorporate the best practices, in order to incorporate in order to catch up with the competitors, with the other businesses, international or the global ERP is a must. In terms of customization or integration, again, international ERPs have an edge as compared to the domestic ERPs. The reason being that, again, based upon the number of implementations, the number of staff members, the number of HR that is available, not only for support, but also for development, etc. as well. Again, the thing is that from international ERP perspective, there's a lot of different angles that we can look at it. There's a lot of different customizations that we can work on it. There are a lot of best practices that we can incorporate into it. And in terms of the, specifically if I talk about the global businesses, then from any organization that is looking to expand, whether geographically or from industry perspective, whether it's horizontal integration or it's vertical integration, then in that particular case, they need to look at the international ERPs as the product of choice. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move to our second panel discussion of the day on ERP, the foundation of digital transformation. To moderate the discussion, I am pleased to invite Mr. Salman Dar upon stage. As our first panelist, I would like to call upon stage Mr. Mubashir Amjad, the CIO for IBL International. Mr. Mubashir Amjad. He'll be joining remotely, okay. Now I'd like to call upon the CFO of the Sapphire Group, Mr. Mohammad Imran. Mr. Mohammad Imran. The third panelist for our discussion is the COI for New Khan Roadrunners, Mr. Raheel Naqvi. Our final panelist is the head of IT at GSK, Mr. Syed Nabiq Raza Alam. Who will also be joining remotely. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum ji. I think so we missed one panelist. Muzammil is also part of the panel discussion. Muzammil, can you please? Assalamu alaikum. I know this group discussion and we are the only thing between you guys and lunch. So we'll try to wrap up quickly from this perspective, although the topic is quite different. We have been talking about digitalization. One thing which I'd like to quickly say is it's a debatable topic, but digitalization and digitization are two different things. So digitization is where your ERP and cross-process automation comes in, and digitalization is beyond that. So that's what we are going to discuss with this esteemed panel. A couple of them are joining us remotely from Karachi. I hope Mubashir and Nabiq are online. So a quick introduction, 25 years in the industry. First interaction with ERP when I joined my first consultancy, they were the people who implemented first ERP in Pakistan in 1983. That was a Norwegian company called Norstata. Moving into the corporate world and then starting my own consultancy around 10 years ago. In corporate world, I also sat on the project board for a consolidation of 63 ERPs into one ERP, covering more than 250 legal entities and 180 countries. So I won't take long. I'll not be asking a lot of questions. So the format is a bit different, where I'll ask one of my panelists to talk about their journey, how they have come across the ERP and the digitalization process. I'll request them to introduce themselves and then quickly talk about their journey in a specific respect, which we have discussed earlier. So I'll ask Mr. Imran to start with, and the point, if you can quickly have a 1-minute introduction, and then we can move to the question after that. Mic on.
I am Mohammad Imran, working as CFO for Sapphire Textile Mills Limited. As far as our topic is concerned, ERP as an enabler for digital transformation, I totally agree. I recall my early days of profession when I joined audit firm as an article student. We used to go to audit where books of accounts were maintained manually. There were large books which were handled manually. All records were kept manually. It was a cumbersome process to audit those books and to compile financial statements. Then the technology part comes, where the basic books, that is general ledger, got automated, which helps organizations to get the data in an easy way. And then the tier 1 ERP systems come, where the renowned names like Oracle, SAP start playing their role, which help the organizations to automate their business processes in totality with better controls. Nowadays, we are entered into another era where we are listening artificial intelligence, machine learning, which I am quite optimistic will help the transformation process to go to the next stage. So I totally agree with this, that ERP played a major role in digital transformation of the organizations.
Thank you, Imran Saab. I'll move to Mr. Muzammil, and as we were discussing, I think so I'd like you to highlight also the aspect of how you look at different fragmented solutions and consolidate them into an ERP solution, and that provided a platform to go beyond that. So I'll on है मेरे
One of my organization, that is the Khas clothing brand, that have the manual work all inside. There was the Excel, there was small utility software, and somebody downloading the files and uploading in the other side, then telling the stock manually. Such things were happening. After that, we deployed the core ERP, which was the SAP ECC HP7 on HANA. And then we integrate with the Retail Pro and the Shopify, and we deployed the WHMS there, handheld devices integration all there. So now what we do, we have the real-time synchronization, our online stocks. Same with the second story, I was told that was the Sadakat Global with me. There was no ERP, there was only one small module of the Sage, only finance was there. Then we deployed SAP ECC, and then we, for Pakistan's first project, that was the CX Hybris e-commerce solution for that, and the config team was my technology partner along with the TMC, and again we deployed both solutions there, and then it was integrated with the world's top omni channels, Amazon, eBay, Groupon, Wayfair, the all gifts. In both cases, what happens, you sitting in your home and you just give an order and it directly come to my ECC and on my desktop. And same is the case with the payment channel. You are making the payment online on using your credit card, and it directly fit my financials in my company system and my desktop. Each and every moment is synchronized with the milliseconds. Let me bring under your kind information that we have a multinational company and the group of companies there. We have the Slivered USA, we have the Slivered Australia, then we have the Sadakat Global in UK. In Pakistan, we have the Sadakat Limited, Made Ups, Knitting, Knitwear, woven, non-woven, and in phase going the weaving and spinning. So deploying the ERP, now we are able, like we have transformed ourselves, we have the consolidation of the account, we have the real-time scenarios of our production and stocks, the planning, the capacity planning. I do agree with the statement, yes, the ERP is the foundation for the transformation. So as I learned as a success story and a journey, ERP played a vital role. But up now we are going to the further phase. We are deploying the AI, the BI, and the industry automation 4.0, SCADA integration, RFID integration, and such things like that. So again, I do agree with the statement. Yes, it is a vital role for the transformation in the industry.
Thank you, Muzammil. Let's move to Mr. Raheel. I think one of the key points Mr. Raheel has highlighted during our discussion over a cup of tea earlier was the importance of processes, and which other panelists and other speakers have also talked about earlier, is how you can look at the processes first and to get the processes right before you go onto the digitalization journey. So I'll please introduce yourself and elaborate on this point.
Sayyid Rahil Asgar. I'm currently working as CIO in New Khan Roadrunner, the renowned New Khan Transport Company. And I'm around. If you have any question regarding company, what they are doing now and what they are up to, you're welcome. I have 25 years experience. First 8 years was as a software engineer, team lead, project manager in software houses, Cybersoft to start with, then with Swing Software International. Might be some of you have heard the name if you are in link with the software houses in Pakistan. Then my stay was with Ibrahim Fibers for 15 years.